We're live on your DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 144. This is Joy News Prime. Tonight, we expose the lack of science teaching and learning facilities in some senior schools as a rice cooker is used as water bath for science experiment and where over 30 students huddle around a single laptop for ICT lessons.
Anytime we want to do test for any food substance, we need the water bath, like I already said. So in place of the water bath, we are using the rice cooker. We need the projector so that at least we can view from afar.
We'll speak to some stakeholders on this discussion. Also, confusion among commercial transport operators as some drivers implement the announced 20% increase in transport fares, with some others not implementing, saying,
year to Dansuma, it take 4 cedi. But now the new fare can the years people they talk say 4 cedi 80 pesos.
First now 3 cedi 70 pesos. This year 4 cedi 50 pesos. Passenger
Also, the MPP resort to alternative dispute resolution mechanism to deal with issues surrounding its recent constituency elections.
Few of the constituencies that we have challenges, some of them have ended up in court, some of them are before the Alternative Dispute Resolution Committee.
More on this as John Boyd speaks to us on varied issues about the management of Ghana's economy. Now at 8 p.m., I'll hand over to Charles and Gary for Prime Business and Prime Sports. Charles, what's up in business?
Tonight, the ECG is pressuring governments to increase tariffs by 148%. It comes as the power distributor is raising concerns over its financial challenges. Meanwhile, ASEP says government has no hand in this in terms of intervening to cushion Ghanaians.
Your sleep energy prices is going to go up. Every segment of the value chain in energy has to go up. And to the extent that, street lights consume power, that tariff cannot stay the same.
And in Prime Sports, well, you may have heard that yesterday, on the eve of the May 9 soccer disaster 21st anniversary commemorations, a team in the Bono region were beating and they have been discharged. That's the Tamale City FC. Meanwhile, the Ghana Football Association is saying that fans who are found to be misbehaving at venues will be punished.
The FA will be stiff. We would punish those few ones who mar the game for us.
We are your home of independent, fearless, credible journalism. I am Samuel Kojo. Brace. Stay for details. And when a rice cooker donated by a teacher is used as water bath for science experiment, you know that there's challenge. Now, when over 30 students huddle around a single laptop for ICT lessons, all in an era when science and engineering are being used to make a difference in many facets of life, you would be right to question, can these students compete on the world stage and participate in the ICT drive? This is the story of Kajebi Asato Senior High School in the OT region, a piece by our OT regional correspondent, Peter Seno.
There are so many things we lack in this lab. For example, the gas pipeline is not working. It's not in a good shape. Some of the chemicals, they are obsolete. They are no more in use. They are out of date. So we need replacement for some of them. Yeah. If you check the lab right now, we only have some few hydrochloric acid left. So when it comes to the practicals like our activities, we suffer a lot. Chemistry practicals, students have to feel it individually. So when you do it like that, when the master is doing it here, it serves as just a demonstration. So it's definitely affecting the students. So they have to feel it themselves.
Sometimes when we are about to do the practical, because of the inadequate apparatus or equipment, we come as a group. But for the chemistry, we need to do individual so that we can feel the thing. But because of the inadequate apparatus, we come as a group to do it. So some of us don't understand.
Pipelines have spoiled for some years ago, and due to this, students are not able to perform practicals such as the heat experiment. So the only thing we do here is that a teacher will stand and do the whole thing, and when it's been done, students are to see and copy of which you don't feel the reality of the experiment. So when you get to your WASI and you have to do the same experiment, then you find yourself wanting.
Biology lab, yeah, I think we have certain equipment which we can use for now. Just that I think we need a projector. As you are saying, we are just using my laptop to teach, and then we also need a water bath.
Talking about projector, is that why the students are crowded in front of one laptop?
Yes, actually, we need the projector so that at least we can view from afar. If not, I mean, they can watch from afar. We just need a projector. Anytime we want to do test for any food substance, we need the water bath, like I already said. So in place of the water bath, we are using the rice cooker. Dip the rack inside, and then what I do is that we put the test tubes inside so that it can be properly held together in place.
Some of the items we don't have it, such as the gas pipes, so we can't even perform the heat experiment in physics, and it is really much disturbing. And then also the biology lab, for instance, we don't have certain solutions which will make us do practicals such as food test, and also we don't have a water bath for heat source in doing this food test experiment, and it really makes us not to do the experiment to our satisfaction.
Some of the equipment we have are old and they are no longer functioning, so we need new ones. The ones supplied by the government is not enough to cater for the number of students that we have. Looking at the nature of the lab, some of the things, the benches are not in good order, as you can see. They have broken, others have been eaten by weevils. So I am appealing to the old students and the government to help us.
Now, joining me for a discussion on this is Peter Ante-Partey, who is the Executive Director for the Institute of Education Studies, IFEST, and Bafoche Frederick, past President, Ghana Student Chemical Society. Now, let me begin with you, Bafoche Frederick. How would you describe science education in Ghana?
Yeah, good evening. Science education in Ghana, I think we are doing our best, but not up to the, you see, because science is more of practical instead of the theoretical aspect. Okay. So if we have more of practical science, that will be of more benefit to students and the teachers as well. And then at the end of the day, we would have the ability to invent. Definitely, we will have the ability to invent. Yeah.
Now you've been taught science as well. What is your own experience of being taught without the appropriate apparatus?
Seriously, it's a big issue because science itself goes with concepts which are not concrete. It goes with concepts which are abstract. You know, there are certain instances that you'll be dealing with substances, and then you are asked to measure them in grams. In fact, they are minute quantities, especially in chemistry. Okay, so if you don't have those apparatus, sincerely, the learning of science becomes very tedious for students to even understand the normal concepts. Yeah.
You are now a teacher yourself. What's the situation in where you are now?
Right now, I would say the situation I find myself in as a teacher is the same situation I find myself in when I was a student. Because way back in school, we learned, and then the only time we had the chance to do practicals was when we were getting to our final year for our WASI. And then it's the same this time because it is only during the final year that funds are being provided the purchase of apparatus, purchase of certain chemicals and reagents, and that's it. You see, so if we are done with the practical, then that's all. But sincerely, I personally feel that when we are teaching, there are certain topics that have a particular line with practicals. It goes in line with the practical aspect of science, okay? In order for the students to really understand the concept we are teaching.
Interesting. Let me bring in Mr. Ante here for him to join the discussion. Peter, you've been in the sector for some time now. How widespread is this development in our schools?
Thank you very much. Spread issue across secondary schools in Ghana. You would have only schools that are classified as science schools that technically would have some of these labs functioning properly. Apart from that, there are certain schools that have benefited from the benevolence of NGOs and other organizations, and these schools would have labs that are a little bit more modern. Now, when you take these two groups of schools that I've mentioned out, all our secondary schools do not have functioning science laboratories.
Now, as you heard the teacher say that, I during my time when I was doing science as well, we used to travel to another school to do practicals, and that was even on rare occasions. So why has this persisted in our schools for all these years without change?
It's because of the policy direction that we have as a country. We seem to be a country that is a little bit more focused on the rhetorics rather than going down to see what the real challenges are and trying to find out feasible solutions to address our challenges. We have been a country that seeks to focus more on a living legacy project and ensuring that every leader of the sector, I mean the education sector, leaves something, or the government leaves something that can be termed as their achievement. And that is why we have not been able to do a complete audit of these science labs, although we seem to project that we are interested in science and STEM education, that every little opportunity that the authorities get, they want to let us understand that they are doing a lot within the sector.
Well, would rectify a party's line there so we can continue. But I still have with me Che on the line, who is a past. Okay, so Party, I'm told you are back.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. But
yeah.
Did you say this is in all schools are facing this challenge, or you said it's widespread?
I said it's widespread. You take the category A schools that are classified as science schools, and then I said that schools that have benefited from the benevolence of NGOs and other institutions, those are the schools that you can take out, and these schools are not even up to 20% of the entire senior high schools that we have. Technically, all senior high schools are supposed to have a functioning laboratory because integrated science is a core subject, and students would have to go to the labs to have a physical interaction with some of these things for them to appreciate how it works. Another thing that we have not averted our minds to is the idea of doing simulations instead of dealing with physical labs. So, for example, the teacher that was talking about the kind of chemicals and other things that they have in most modern classrooms, these things are carried out by just a computer experiments and other things. And that would mean that every secondary school is supposed to have a functioning electricity system, a functioning computer lab, and a functioning projector, at least one in that particular school, so that the science teachers would now do simulations instead of maybe us trying to build a whole structure that we call a science lab. That is also lacking in the schools.
So Peter, we now know the challenge. What must we do to change the narrative? Where do we begin from?
I think the first thing we need to do is to do an audit of our science labs in the country. We need to have a clear understanding. And for me, I always want to get the real figures as they are supposed to be. So let's get an understanding of the number of science labs that we have, and the ones that are functioning and the ones that are not functioning. Let's get an understanding of what we need to provide for these schools. Then the second thing we need to do is to start training our teachers to use some of these simulations when it comes to science practicals and provide them with the needed resources. It's good that they are giving them laptops now, but all schools should have a working or functioning projector and at least a science, a computer lab where the science students can be taken to and then go through the practical sessions.
Thank you very much. Che, for you, what do you think must be done? Because you're on the field.
Okay, I personally think the government needs to intervene. The government must intervene because everything boils back to the government. Okay. Yeah, and then personally, before the government intervene, we, the teachers, also have to adapt improvisation techniques. You see, because there are certain times that you need to really teach something. You need to really let the students understand a particular concept in a particular direction. You see, you may not have the standard materials available. So what you have to do is that you
need to innovate,
improvise,
you mean?
Okay.
All right.
So,
Che, I'm grateful. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Che is a past chemical student president, and also Peter Patianti is into educational analysis or consultancy there. Now, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, announcement that transport fares should be increased by 20% is yet to be fully implemented across board. GPRTU announced last week that the increase resulted from recent fuel price increment and the refusal of government to scrap some taxes on the petroleum price buildup. But the increment is yet to elicit full compliance among drivers, with some still charging old fares. Some drivers and passengers have been speaking to Joy News about this development. Michael Ashley's report from the Ordona Transport Yard for you.
Coming from the house this morning, I have to pay almost 4 cedis 50 pesos.
Reagan Edu is surprised with news of fare increment. He works with a law firm in the heart of Accra. On a daily basis, he boards a public transport from Kolibu to Circle. Previously, he paid 3 cedis 70 pesos, but today he's been asked to pay 80 pesos more.
Previously, I used to pay 3 cedis 70 pesos, but now we are paying 4 cedis 50 pesos. And I don't think, as at this time, the hardship in the country, the salary we've taken every month compared to our transportation, I think is very huge. The percentage, they are supposed to take 20%. But here is the case, I don't think almost 80 pesos on 3 cedis 70 pesos, making it 4 cedis 50 pesos, is too much. That's not the 20%.
He is not happy.
And we are suffering a lot. The drivers are not reasoning with us. As in, we are going through difficult times. So they should also look at the fare for us. We can't be using our monthly salaries to pay for lorry fares.
Earlier this month, GPRTU announced a 20% increment in fares without approval from GRTCC and the Transport Ministry. This was supposed to take effect from the 9th of May 2022. Checks at the Circle Ordona Transport Yard shows fares had been increased.
With the load from Circle here to Dansman last stop, at first now they take 4.3, for now they rise 5 cedis.
Isaac Kumsin is a driver at the Ordona Transport Yard, and he is happy they have been allowed to increase fares.
They take 5 cedis, but yesterday in the crowd, the fuel safe now is not up to, but we are managing. Small, everything will be fine. People they work for. If you take a day 10 cedis, in and out 10 cedis, but imagine if his salary is 500 cedis or 600. If you make a calculation at that price and one fat price, you say. So if you know how to talk to me and show him that it's not easy, the fuel safe will they buy before they close. Some fear understand saying there is no line.
Although these drivers are happy fares have been increased, they wish for more.
Circle to Banana in Zamala, the old fare be 3 cedis 70 pesos, but now it's 4 cedis 50 pesos.
Do you think that was enough?
No, because when we close, how to know that we get profit or not get profit?
First, no mutu minu cry any and I am to laughing. He said, "Yatum passenger kwana mne yakum." A dose too much. Yam so bread even po say loadu ne kwa empty ne de ba tie nya hwe ntina yan so ya de ya tumi no.
So man, year to dance, so man, it take 4 cedi. But now the new fare can the years people they talk say 4 cedi 80 pesos they take now.
Have you charged the new fare today?
No, today there are no charge. Today there are no charges on yet.
Why is that so? We heard that Monday you are supposed to start charging the new fares.
So right now the fare come. Right now we come. So by now the evening time going, then the new fare will come out.
Passengers, on the other hand, have to bear the brunt of the increment in transport fares. For many of them, the move by the drivers is insensitive given the prevailing harsh economic conditions.
So the fare, the increase, but like nothing they will do. As at first, it be 3 cedi 50 pesos from Circle to Zamala. But now it be 4-5. We be only today we I notice it be 4-5. What I go do, I not go free work, so I go pay. Because I not go free work, I pay wait and give me 50 pesos. So I give them 5 cedi, give me 50 pesos. This be the first time I notice our time. When we have to pay, if we can't, we work. That's all. So definitely, if I go back, I'm also going to increase whatever I'm doing. If you can't also pay, you also send it to another person. Like me too, if I can't pay, I'll work.
Many life in it. One yellow, one back. I one go government, one go. Many can't me petrono. I fed no feno. Koya any Jalawa. Over what I Jalawa. Sukufi say Jalawa. Hey, many bane.
It's amazing and we can't afford because from our so can run about to Circle here is 2 cedi 50 pesos. How? We don't understand. You understand? So I think they should do something about it for us because we are suffering, including the lorry fare. So I don't know. Just I came in, they said that they have increased the lorry fare, of which we don't know nothing, and even the percentage itself, because from Shalom to here it was 3 cedis 20 pesos, but today they said 3 cedis 80 pesos. Look at the 60 pesos. It's too much.
Nothing going on in town. There is no job, there is no money, yet fares are being increased every day. How can we cope?
Meanwhile, the GRTCC, in a letter issued on May 9, 2022, asked passengers and transport owners to disregard the new fares. For Joy News, Michael Ashali.
Now, the new Patriotic Party has implemented an alternative dispute resolution mechanism to deal with issues surrounding constituency elections and other matters arising thereof. That's according to the General Secretary of the party, John Boadu. Speaking to Joy News on how the party is handling the aftermath of the recent internal elections, Mr. Boadu said these things were expected to happen and the party had already started processes to deal with them.
And there are a few of the constituencies that we have challenges. Some of them have ended up in court. Some of them are before the Alternative Dispute Resolution Committee that they are working on it. So far, that's where we are. By middle of this month, we will open nomination for our national, regional annual delegates conference and give timelines for opening, closing, vetting, appeal, and all that. How can you have an election where there's no incident at all? You understand? So these are normal things that comes with elections. There are instances where, for instance, even in Greater Accra, some of the constituencies were supposed to have their elections day before the days they had it. Their ballot papers did not come early, so some of them have to postpone it. So if you go to that electoral or constituency, and people will be there from, let's say, 8 to 3, and they are complaining, it does not mean that the election has not been successful. Because of our inbuilt mechanism to resolve these problems, the problems will come anyway, but we are able and capable of resolving most of these problems.
The ones that I saw, people were very, very serious. In some even went to the extent of saying that we will see when it comes to a general election, they will vote against the party. How are you addressing this? I mean, I'm sure you're not getting this constituency.
See, that's the problem. Because each and every constituency has its own dynamics altogether. Because some of the constituencies, they have permanent opposition amongst themselves. So whatever decisions you take will still fall in one way or the other. So some of these noise are noise and complaints that sometimes are likely to happen. But for us who also know the genesis of some of these challenges in some of the constituencies, have a way of managing it, and we've been able to. For instance, if you take constituencies like Domeko Abenya, for instance, because their sitting member of parliament is not there, and they've been contests in that constituency forever. So obviously the constituency is polarized. If their main leader is not there, obviously their supporters will have one problem or the other complaining about, in terms of the elections at the polling station and electoral area. So some of these complaints, they come, but that's how our politics is here. Okay.
So the party is resolving them. That's the assurance you're giving the party? Most
likely. And I'm hoping that before we have our regional conference in this month, 27 to 29, before, we'll be able to resolve almost all, apart from those ones that are permanent injunction on. If there are permanent injunction on, as a law-abiding political party, we cannot go against the law, so we'll respect it. But apart from that, we are working to make sure that each and every constituency is represented at our regional and annual delegates conference.
Now, speaking on the General Secretary contest in the party, John Bodu said he is not perturbed about the challenge from his other contenders for the position.
Well, I think it's just a statement of fact. If you check the work that, with the help of my other colleagues, we've done, we've put this party at a level that I can say on authority that it will be difficult to get a party in Africa that its organization, its effectiveness, and support for the party is higher than ours. We've gotten to a level where this party is highly performing.
So from where you are confident that there's no match for your position?
Oh, that's not part of it. You see, running this thing, if you are so much concerned about your position, you lose it and lose the party. What is important is to get the party machinery working. The processes are fair. People who are expected to contest have the opportunity to do so. And at the end of the day, we'll come to those positions and we'll be out there also letting the Ghanaians, because people know, apart from the fact that I'm not going around campaigning, it is also because of making sure this process is successful. Because if I also become selfish and because others are contesting, so I'm also going to go out. Who is going to vote for you contesting without getting the foundation right? So I don't think that it is reduced to my personal contest, no.
Now, on press freedom, the General Secretary of the NPP, John Bodu, says journalists thrive better under the NPP government, contrary to views that the Akufo-Addo-led administration has been suppressive of opposing views from Ghanaians, especially the media. Describing the recent press freedom index as unfortunate, Mr. Bodu asserted that rumors about attacks on journalists are from the fringes and not government organized.
We are looking at this country and looking at political parties. We are more pro-media than any other political party in this country, particularly the NDC. It's unfortunate that things are happening that sometimes it's not a deliberate orchestration from government, unless, of course, you have examples of deliberate orchestration of government to stifle the work of the media. If you have that, we can discuss. Or deliberate orchestration from party to sort of attack the media. If you have that, we can discuss. Many of these issues, if they are citing example, are not issues that are the orchestration of government. We've had situations in the past where media houses are shit bombed by operatives of government. We've never had that as we speak now. We've had a situation where media personnel are jailed without giving the option of a fine. That is criminal libel. We used to have that.
But during your time, a lot of media people say they are not free. They are not free to express themselves. Manasseh Azure and all of that.
So he's gone to sleep. Hasn't he been contributing Or the fact that you're a media person, if you raise issues, we have no right to counter as well. We have no right to respond to it. Is that what we are talking about? The fact that you bring out issues and government or party operative respond means that you are not free. So we should give the media unfettered room for them to say whatever they say without getting even a response from government. If not, what at all has any government official or the party in power done that gives an impression that they want to stifle freedoms of individuals? If you have such example, I'm free for a discussion on it. But most often you hear from media people, oh, some stray comment, somebody in government somewhere having a private discussion with somebody said that they are going to stifle the media. This is unofficial. Give me an example of an official of government and party whose orchestration or action is stifling the media freedoms, then all of us can discuss. But as for some of this, it's unfortunate. We shouldn't even get to where we are. I think that we also, as media people, must also not wait for some of these things to come out before we hear a lot of you speaking.
Now, on the economy, the General Secretary of the governing New Patriotic Party said the government of Nana Akufo-Addo has managed the Ghanaian economy better than the NDC could have ever done under the same circumstances. According to him, the global conditions have impacted massively on the economy, and the country is only lucky it is being managed by no other party than the NPP. He spoke exclusively to Joy News.
General condition of life of all, including Ghanaians, are not at the best as we speak now. We all acknowledge. But you have a situation where in 2020, your GDP only grew by 0.4%. We've never experienced such a challenge in our country for a very, 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 very long time. And out of the whole countries you have in the world, just about 25 of them were able to post positive growth. You understand? So it's a challenging period for everybody in the world, including Ghana. But what we pride ourselves of being able to do is to manage the country in a way that is relatively better than others. And we hope that we are going to turn the economy around. I have seen latest figures of our GDP, which is higher than we expected. The moment GDP growth and your debt profile remains constant, what it means is that debt to GDP ratio will fall. So hitherto we had a debt to GDP ratio of close to 80% plus. Now it is around 76% because of the growth in the GDP and all that's done expected. You know, so things are bouncing back, and we believe that sometimes if things go down, it's difficult to come up like that. I normally use toothpaste to describe the effect of inflation. The moment there's inflation, it's like toothpaste. It is difficult getting it back into its container, you know, so that's how it is. So we just have to manage it and make sure that our revenue enhancing measures that we've put in place will quickly bear fruits in order to also help us be able to meet our expenditures that are before us. And you know, workers are asking for additional salaries, contractors are asking for their
payment
for work done. There are a lot of rules that need to be done. Our youth need employment, and it all comes with revenue envelope, which we expect that in addition to other revenue enhancing measures, the e-levy will also come in handy to support in making sure that the economy grows the way.
Now, he descended on former President John Dramani Mahama for not offering alternatives to managing the economy of Ghana at his recent Ghana at Crossroads lecture. He told Joy News Mr. Mahama just spoke like any Ghanaian without offering credible solutions to what he thinks the government is not doing right in managing the country. He says former President Mahama would have done worse if he was the one managing the economy under such turbulent global economic difficulties.
I don't think that he has an exemplary history of how well an economy is managed. But whatever it is, he's a citizen of our country, so comments from him will be considered. And but I can assure you that we are far better managers of this economy than they can think of. We are lucky Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government is in power in times of this drastic shock, twin problem of COVID and fuel price increases. They didn't experience that, but we saw what they managed to perform. So I don't think that is a major thing. He's doing his work as an opposition person.
He fed on the sentiment of Ghanaians, and Ghanaians have really complained bitterly against e-levy, and he came out with that.
I'm not disagreeing with any suggestion at all, only that he wouldn't perform anything better than what has been done. Because as we speak now, I thought that you were going to say that he has a policy direction that is different from what we are doing, or he has anything different that if he was there, will have implemented and make things better. That's what I expect from a responsible opposition that is ready and waiting to take government. But opposition that says that change your economic management team. So you bring another members of your economic management team to lead the management of the economy, and what happens? Okay. I expect that there should be policy direction, alternative policy direction from them for us to have discussion.
Still to come, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade out of them. This afternoon on The Pulse, we told you a story of how some prison students taught by prison teachers are taking advantage of their circumstances to come out as reformed people. More after this break.
To come to jail, and I'll also be the first person in the family to lecture at the government universities in Ghana here, or even the training colleges. That is my ambition.
Now, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade out of them. This sums up the zeal of some prisoners serving various jail terms in NSMQ medium security prison to leave jail one day with a certificate. In this special feature by Seth Kwame, he focuses on how some prison students taught by prison teachers are taking advantage of their circumstances to come out as better people.
Can any good thing come out of the prison? This is one of the frequently asked questions by many people, and it is mainly due to the fact that the prison is regarded as a den for criminals.
The 2 is a coefficient of x, yes. So we divide both sides by 2. Okay.
Inside the NSMQ medium security prisons, however, prison officers are investing time, energy, knowledge, and resources to change the narrative. They are using formal education to achieve that result. Courtesy of the Ghana Education Trust Fund, these 2 beautiful separate cream and white 1-story 11 classroom blocks have been constructed for use as classrooms and lecture halls for inmates in need of education, right from the basic level through to tertiary. Educating prison inmates, according to studies, reduces recidivism, the term used for reoffenders. It also enhances the chances of inmates gaining employment after their release from prison. There are close to 3,000 inmates here in the NSMQ medium security prison. At least 400 of them are bent on leaving this confinement one day with a certificate that could make them employable. Joseph Yankee is Assistant Director of Prisons in charge of inmate education.
People normally committed crime because they never knew what they were doing. But now that we have been giving them education, most of them have changed their attitude towards certain things. And I don't think that when they go back, they will commit that crime. Because when you train the person, you equip the person to have knowledge. And knowledge supersedes everything.
In one of the classes here at the Reformers Senior High School, inmates are obtaining knowledge crucial for a better life once they leave prison. It is a government class and the teacher is 36-year-old Ali Dufuseni.
Before we delve into the new topic that we have today,
his students, who are all prisoners, will partake in the next West African Senior School.
Now, the chief of Kwapia in Adanse North District is calling on the government and the Chinese ambassador to Ghana to help in the reclamation of land destroyed by 4 Chinese nationals engaged in illegal mining. In June 2021, a Kumasi High Court ordered the immediate deportation of 4 Chinese for mining on 400 plots of land at the airport residential area in Obuasi. Nana Jamra Kwabena Yakwan II says the deportation is not enough as he seeks restoration of land and other natural resources in the area. There is more in the following report.
The chief of Kwapia says the harm to the environment by the Galamsey activity threatens the safety and livelihoods of the people. Nana Jamra Kwabena Yakwan II identified 4 Chinese nationals as leading the illegal mining operations. He, however, spoke against some Ghanaians fronting for foreign nationals to engage in illegal mining. The chief wants immediate reclamation of the land and compensation paid to the affected farmers and landowners.
On the chief, Obuasi High Court, yamu order. Asa order no. Echrese yamu hwehwe yamu nchiremu.
The Obuasi High Court ordered the arrest of the illegal miners and even gave them a bail condition. We had wanted to serve them the letter, but they were nowhere to be found when we visited their old place. We were told the Ghana Immigration Service released them because they had told them they worked on the authority of some government officials. We will continue to pursue the case until these miners are forced to restore the devastated land.
Because Obuasi airport residential area.
The government has taken several initiatives to clamp down on illegal mining activities. Several communities in the Ashanti region, however, continue to report ongoing Galamsey operations.
Now, they had to jump many hurdles even before the main challenge of qualifying for the National Science and Maths Quiz, from a broken down school bus on their way to the Nut Hall in the Eastern region and arriving late for the quiz. That is the beautiful story of Kojo Girls School. But they were not bogged down by the challenges. They managed to ride out of the storm to qualify for the national competition. Maxwell Agbaba has more in this report.
Kojo Girls has qualified for the national championship later this year. It was a cliffhanger of a contest, but it managed to beat Nkoko Senior High School, Diaspora Girls Senior High School, Presby Senior High School, Begro, and then Asamanka Senior High School. I have an old student here with me. I have an old student and then a contestant. So contestants, wait, I'll talk to you. An old student. What's your name?
My name is Michelle Azuma. Very excited, very excited. At a point, I was getting nervous because of Asamanka, but I actually trusted the girls, so I'm excited.
Okay. What does it mean to you? What does this victory mean to you guys?
It just tells people that like we're on fire. Yes, like we are at school. It's also like there, like we have teachers who are devoted, preparing students to excel in things like NSMQ.
What was your funnest memories in Kojo Girls?
Well,
fondest memories in Kojo?
Being in the NSMQ,
in the NSMQ?
Yes, I was
last
the
year.
team leader for last year, so yes. So that whole section and being, because our life was a bit separated from the life of the school, so that was that. I had to have fun with it, so.
You're having fun with it?
Yes.
So now let's talk to the contestants. Contestants, congratulations. Tell me, what is the feeling like for you guys?
We're so happy. We are so happy right now because we had very little time to prepare. Even when we were coming, our bus got messed up, but God
on the road.
We came in here very late, but then God helped us and we have sailed through. We are just so happy God has given us this victory.
So what should we expect in the national?
Expect nothing but the best from Kobo girls. Kobo is shining.
Oh yes.
What should we expect in the national?
The same, nothing but the best. Kobo is shining.
We are very, very excited. We worked so hard for this. Last year we made it, and this year we made it again. So we just give glory to God. Our girls are very good. Expect us at nationals.
Nothing but the best. Like, we are bringing the trophy home.
Like, we're not joking. We are not joking. We're not joking. It's indeed our limit. Charlie.
We are shining everywhere.
We're all fighting.
We had faith in God, so we weren't scared. We knew that we are going to the nationals. We knew for sure.
All right, so congrats to the Kobo girls there. Now we'll take a quick break. When we come, we'll bring you showbiz. Now, the winner of the Afrobeat Song of the Year category at the 23rd edition of the Vodafone Ghana Music Awards, Sefa, says, though she is very excited for winning the award, her focus for the night was on the performance.
When you're coming here, it was a performance, but after the show, which of the two really holds a heavy weight for you, the award or the performance?
For me, it's the performance, though. It will shock you because I feel like the performance is how I sell myself, and people now know that, okay, she actually really deserves it. That's how come when you go on social media, people are like, oh, she deserves it because they just saw me performing. The award is amazing, I won't lie. I like it, I love it, but the performance, just giving people.
Reggae Dancehall Artist of the Year at the 23rd edition of the VJMA, Stoneboy, told Andy Dusty this morning on Daybreak Hits that he deliberately caused a delay during his performance on the night of the awards.
The plan was not to come on stage immediately. Exactly, so it worked. Definitely worked. Because, you know, it's been a while I've been on there. So the plan was supposed to make it feel like, I'm back. Yeah.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, boom. So I think that works.
But you know what?
Because people were like,
I was on Twitter and then I got on Facebook.
Yeah. I saw Sheldon's tweet and somebody else's tweet, like, it would be like, you know, go cover. Yeah. I mean, that's the plan. I wouldn't lie to anybody because there are people who are involved that you guys know from the back. So if I'm lying about it being a plan, you can cross check. Yeah. That was the plan. And I think I pulled it off so well enough that I even honestly confused everybody.
Yeah, because we are me.
That was me. By the time I didn't even tell the band that I wouldn't start singing from when. So even them, that's how come they were like, no, Debbie, yeah.
But like this,
back in the I just tell everybody say, that chief say, no, even
me. Listen, you know what? You see me earlier. Oh, you come.
So I actually made it because if I had told them vividly, you know, go feel real. Everybody felt it.
So even
me, you know what make a compa?
My video guy said, "Ready." Hey, my video guy, I see, no, maybe the bad so that I say, hey, boo. We didn't have me feel so be a mobile for my coffee. Also, won't be my head over coffee. And I'm supposed to say,
And to the big winner of the night, this time around, God brought him back for the Artist of the Year. The Touchet musician Kiddy could not hide his feelings after winning the prestigious Artist of the Year award at the 23rd edition of the Vodafone Ghana Music Awards. Speaking to IB of Joy Entertainment, he said the excitement of the win has even made him forget what he said as his acceptance speech.
I don't remember anything I said on the stage. My mind all day. I mean, thank you so much, Ghana. I really appreciate this. Every single person who has done anything for Kiddy, to Kiddy, I appreciate everybody, Charlie. Anybody even do something small for me. My team especially, my family, my friends, Charlie. God bless Ghana, man. I appreciate this so much. We said we'll be back, and 315 days later, we're back and we picked up the ultimate. Shout out to everyone. Shout out to every artist in the category as well. Love to you, man. Boom.
Is this an assurance of the fact that, yes, Kiddy has finally gotten there? Because last year, there was an expectation.
Charlie, I don't reach anywhere. The journey is very long. This is just the beginning, and I pray for more, grace to keep working hard, to keep putting out good music, man. Thank you.
So congrats to Kiddy and all the award winners there. And that's how we call it a wrap on today's edition of Joy News Prime. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. There's more on myjoyonline.com. Up next is a Prime Business with Charles Aite.
Tonight on Prime Business, Ghanaians to pay more for electricity bills as ECG pressures the PLC to increase tariffs by 148% to cover the period of 2019 and 2022. We have details as the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, says government will not be in the position to subsidize.
I believe energy prices are going to go up. Every segment of the value chain in energy has to go up. And to the extent that, street lights consume power, that tariff cannot stay the same.
We have this and other business stories lined up for you after this break. If government fails to subsidize your electricity tariff, you could pay for an astronomical increase in light bills from August as the ECG is demanding a 148% increase in tariff. A proposal from the power distributor submitted to the PLC wants the adjustments to cover the period 2019 and 2022. The ECG has subsequently proposed an average increase of 7.6% in tariff over the next 4 years to cover distribution service charges. Charles Nixon-Yeboah has been looking through the proposal and has filed this report.
ECG attributed the high increase in the distribution service charge to the gap that has developed over the years between the actual cost recovery tariff and the PRC-approved tariffs, as well as the cost of completed projects. It also mentioned the continual application of the prevailing tariff, which was 14% lower beyond the stipulated regulatory period, and the effect of macroeconomic factors such as inflation and exchange rate fluctuation. The power distributor again pointed out that financial sustainability is important as it impacts on the entire energy sector. With the huge investment needs facing the distribution industry over the next 5 years, ECG said it expects the proposed tariff increases would inevitably be approved to sustain efficiency and reliable electricity service. The ECG, however, recommended an engagement with the PRC on the determination of the defined threshold for a lower tariff for non-residential or commercial customers. The company seeks the support of government to introduce a streetlight tariff to enable it to properly account for full cost of streetlight consumption. It also anticipates the government would support its financial sustainability by absorbing all costs associated with excess capacity charges.
But can government intervene through subsidies to cushion power consumers? Executive Director of ASEP Ben Boachi tells Joy Business that any attempt for a $1.5 billion subsidy could crumple Ghana's already fragile economy.
Obviously, if energy prices is going to go up, every segment of the value chain in energy has to go up. And to the extent that, street lights consume power, that tariff cannot stay the same. So it will also be adjusted. But to what extent? I think on Wednesday, there will be a discussion where we would have to interrogate the numbers that ECG will present. And they will have to show clearly how they will reduce the waste and inefficiencies for us to continue to pay the tariff that they always want to push on the consumer. If you do not reduce the inefficiencies, the tendency is that people will still have room to steal power. So what you're going to do is to pile the burden on the few honest, legitimate customers that you do have. And many people, many businesses still continue to steal power and not pay for it. So those are significant questions that we want ECG to address when we meet PURC and the stakeholders on Wednesday.
Well, Joy Business understands that the recent intermittent power outages across some parts of the country are due to gas shortage. The power plants that rely on gas have switched to light crude oil and diesel fuel oil to run their plant. Now, this is expected to impact the cost of operations of businesses. There is more on this report.
According to information gathered by Joy Business, there's currently a shortfall or deficit of about 364 megawatts of power in the country. This has compelled the power authorities to shed load at Kaswa, Pokuase and Almaso power plants in the central, Greater Accra and Ashanti regions. The situation is said to have started 3 months ago and keep worsening. Joy Business gathers that Twin City and Sen Power currently run on light crude oil, while Scar Power is still down together with the combined cycle unit at Tico at Abuate in the western region. We further understand that managers of the Ghana Grid Company and the Electricity Company of Ghana over the weekend visited these power stations to ascertain the current situation. The operators of these power plants, however, promised to restore the load shed when gas pressures improve and additional generation units come on board.
Well, meanwhile, Executive Director of the Institute of Energy Security, Nana Emuesi VII, has urged government to publish a true state of Ghana's power sector to enable businesses plan amidst the intermittent outages. His comment follows a report of gas shortages affecting thermal plant in Takoradi. Speaking on the issue, Nana Emuesi VII said government must be transparent to help businesses plan ahead of these power cuts.
The trippings could affect gas supply as well. One, the compressors that are pumping this gas from Atuabo have the same power or get their power source from the same grid. And so if there is no seamless changeover to a standby plant, then of course it will be difficult to get the gas to this thermal plant. Also, when the power plant tripped and the compressors went down, it would take some time to get the shutdown valves to be activated. And so that's the challenge that we pick from the IES decks, if you ask.
Okay, and so we are told that they're now using light crude and diesel fuel oil. I'm just wondering, how sustainable is that?
Yes, when the trip occurred and gas pressures went low, some plants had to rely on fuel oil and light crude oil. As we speak, we get indication that T1 and T2 are back running on gas. Unfortunately, the steam components of these two plants are not back because when you trip this way, it takes some time and a lot of work to get them back into the stream. But it became quite worrying that almost 3 days after this incident, government is tight-lipped, become quite suspicious. And so we urge government to speak to the issue for Ghanaians to understand what exactly is happening, and that will shape our mind and our focus going forward.
Now, we have heard a lot of talk about boosting local production to ensure there is enough food supply. And is it time, actually, to seriously consider genetically modified crops? Well, Dr. Daniel Osei-Ofosu is Senior Research Scientist with the Biotechnology and Nuclear Agric Research Institute. He's been speaking on the marketplace.
Nitrogen is usually the base for most of the fertilizers. So we have nitrogen use-efficient crops that we can engineer. Another issue, and I think was mentioned just before this, was the issue of rains. The average farmer in Ghana does not have access to irrigation facilities. When you expect it to rain, it doesn't rain. And when it rains, it comes in torrents. We are able to engineer crops that use water efficiently, so very little water. We also have crops that can switch on and off their genes, such that if there's a flood, it just takes just the amount of water it needs, and if there's no flood, it goes to its normal use of water.
And we have more business news on myjoyonline.com/business. I'm Charles Aite, ending Prime Business, but please stay with Joy News because we have Prime Sports coming up shortly with Gabriel Smith.
I hope you're having the time of your life with Joy News. Welcome to the sports. I'm Gary Al Smith. A memorial service has been held for victims of the May 9 disaster as Ghana commemorates the 21st anniversary of one of Africa's biggest sporting tragedies. Asarabedi Ako was at the Accra Sports Stadium for Joy Sports.
Albert Kwao Apia, Albert Resta, Alex Okran, Anthony Abedu.
127 football fans lost their lives after a crucial Ghana Premier League game involving Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko at the Accra Sports Stadium on May 9, 2001. It is regarded as the biggest sports tragedy in the history of Ghana. Speaking during a commemoration ceremony in Accra, Director General of the National Sports Authority, Professor Peter Chumesi, urged football stakeholders to ensure the disaster does not reoccur.
Today is a very sad moment. When it gets to this point, in fact, all of us speak with some shakes in our muscles. And I think you can feel it here. Because every one of them who were mentioned this morning, you realize that comes from a particular community. So it's about Ghana. When this particular day happened, it was a doomsday for the nation. It traveled across the whole continent of Africa, and I think for now it has been even the West across the globe. And that is why we speak the word never again. Never, ever again. And if you want to say never and never again, and we mean it, then it should reflect also in our actions.
Deputy Sports Minister Evans Opoku-Bobie is unhappy with the recent violent acts at league centres.
Our local football matches have been recording incidents of assault and indiscipline in some of league centres, and quite recently, issues relating to alleged match fixing, which has the tendency to fuel spectator agitations, should be a concern to all and sundry. And we just heard from the board chairman of NSA and our lawyer from GFA touching on the issue that happened in Nsuatre recently. And all of us are just praying that such incident never happen again in our local matches. If this unfortunate trend of events are not addressed as a matter of urgency, it may lead to undesirable situation, which may lead to loss of lives.
The GFA says it will deal with fans who misbehave at game centres. Here is General Secretary Prosper Harrisonado.
Indeed, the FA will be stiff. We would punish those few ones who mar the game for us. In every game, the majority of us behave perfectly. There are only a few people who start these troubles, and we have to fish them out and make sure that they don't come to mar the game. On this note, we wish to say that never again.
Rani Pawani was few months pregnant when his husband died in the May 9 disaster. She and his son do not receive enough financial support from government.
And now after this, no one cares about us. And the children, when you pay school fees, what do you expect us to find money to give to the children? As I'm standing here now, I'm not working. Mejuma say, so where do you expect me to get money to give to the boys for school? All these things, they have to invite us. First, we used to have meetings, share ideas and stuff. Now they've stopped everything. When we call the office, they will tell us there is no money.
Meanwhile, the CEO of Asante Kotoko, Nana Amponsa, has called for more support for family members of victims of the tragedy.
May 9th, we keep saying never again. This is an occasion for us to remember the victims' families, and to admonish each and everyone that violence at our games is not the way to go. That security is very important, and we need to continuously drum that into the minds of every individual. That sports is an opportunity, or football in particular, an opportunity for us to come together, to enjoy one another despite the rivalry. At the end of the game, we go back home as one family. So 21 years down the line, I also like to call on government, call on corporate Ghana to remember this occasion and remember the victims and their families. I mean, if you go to England, every year they remember the Hillsborough disaster and many other places. We keep saying never again, but what measures are we putting in place to ensure that indeed never again? What measures are we putting in place to ensure that those who suffered do not continue to suffer? It is important that we come together as a country to remember this occasion and to remember the families. I would love to see next year that this is an occasion for the entire country and not just a few people. We need to really put our hearts where it should be. And the victims' families need to feel that the entire country is with them. This is a very important occasion, very important one. It could have been any one of us. I remember then I was in secondary school and I was going to be at the stadium. I was only saved by the fact that one of our teachers decided to have a test that day. I could have been a victim too. It could have happened to any one of us. And the fact that it happened before and we keep saying never again by words is not enough. It should be never again by action.
21 years. But football fans do not seem to have learned lessons from May night, because only yesterday, players and the technical team members of Tamale City were beaten at Nsuatre. Thankfully, they have been discharged from hospital after they were physically assaulted by fans of Nsuatre-based Bafo Soccer Academy after a Division 1 game, and that was on Sunday. These are the pictures of the players after what was a really brutal beating yesterday. Let me give you a timeline of events leading to yesterday, May 8th, tragic incident at the Chumesi Sports Complex in Nsuatre. So, it started long before the game. Now, the GFA ordered the Brong-Ahafo Regional Football Governing Body to provide adequate security for Bafo Soccer Academy versus Tamale City after it was hinted that there was a potential to be trouble. However, the Brong-Ahafo FA did not adhere to the directive from the GFA, and only a few policemen were deployed to the venue. So, Tamale City wrote to the GFA to complain about Brong-Ahafo's inaction and subsequently wrote to the Ghana military for personnel. There was no response from the Ghana military, and tensions rose ahead of the tie due to the high stakes. And the stakes were that the winner of the game between Bafo Soccer Academy and Tamale City could open a 3-point gap on top of the Zone 1 Division 1 table. So on the match day, home fans allegedly threatened Tamale City with comments like "Yebe kumo," which translates to "We will kill you here" during the pre-match. Tamale City players were attacked on the pitch before the game started. Few police officers were available and they were unable to help. 32 minutes in, Bafo Soccer Academy, the home side, scored the opener. And at halftime, Tamale City rested on the fringes of the park instead of in the dressing room because the keys were not given to them. 25 minutes into the second half, Tamale City restored parity from the spots dispatched by a player called Bismarck Kasari, and play paused for some minutes as home fans of Bafo Soccer Academy allegedly deflated the tires of the visitors' bus before the game resumed. The game ended 1-1 at full time to leave Tamale City on top of the zone on goal difference. And that is when, afterwards, home fans allegedly attacked Tamale City, vandalized their bus like you see in the picture, and pelted them with stones for picking a point on their turf. 7 players and 1 official of Tamale City were admitted at the University of Energy and Natural Resources Hospital in Sunyani following the violence. And police in Sunyani have taken a statement from the Tamale City Football Club in addition to shots of the destroyed bus. And as at the time we put this together, the GFA was yet to react, and still that is the case. The GFA is yet to react. Finally, the venue of the CAF Champions League has been decided. Now here's the catch. The Champions League final will be played only 3 weeks from now, and the decision has been given only today. Morocco will host the CAF Champions League final. We'll give you updates of that tomorrow morning on AM and why it is controversial as well. That's the sport for now. I'm Gary Alsman. Thank you very much for your time. And don't forget, you can get us on social media, Joy Sport on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also via our hashtag. Enjoy the rest of our programming. Stay with Joy News.